Are you ready to do this?
Yeah.
You done Instagramming over there?
Yeah. Are you done?
I'm ready.
What episode is this? 14?
14.
Let's double check that.
Yep.
All right.
Minutes.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned in to episode 14 of The Real Word.
We're in like our adolescence now.
Our adolescence.
Mm-hmm.
Our
14.
adolescence.
Yeah,
That's
14.
a big word for this podcast, so I'm having trouble remembering what that one means.
Wow.
The young days, the teenage days.
It's like, yeah, we're like a
All
like
right.
a like a tween.
We're a tweener. We're tweening it out. We're so super early on this podcast. We want to thank everybody that's been following along the journey, and hope you have subscribed if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're listening to SoundCloud, certainly subscribe up there.
That's the
The
move.
level. I think it's something like that.
That's
I don't know
the
where it
move?
is. It's like down. It's up. It's up.
It's up.
Wherever the fuck it is on your screen,
Go there.
subscribe
Hit
to
it.
this, or throw us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I'm super cool either way. with
Yeah,
that
I
kind of
love thumbs
engagement.
downs too because it means you care.
So Swan Poll report came out 2018. I'm like in the first half of this book, flipping through. I
did see. I like you're making notes. It's
making
like
a little bit of notes.
it's like you're back to being 14 again.
This is a really interesting report. Comes out once a year. If you're not, if you haven't seen this before, you can go on to Swan Poll. Look up Swan Poll. There's T360 is what you want to look up. There's a way to order this book. A lot of relevant information. A lot of the thought leaders in our space, in the real estate space, put their 2 cents on what they think is going to happen in 18 and then in the future beyond. And I was flipping through that first section. I spoke about it on the 5 a.m. club over the weekend. Were you on the 5 a.m. weekend edition calls?
So I was not on the
You
weekend
weren't. Okay.
edition calls. I do
That's
actually
okay.
go to the Facebook page though and get the Cliff Notes.
Cliff notes.
Yeah, my weekend was a little busy.
So
Basketball games.
tightening of the digital grip. And basically what this chapter was about was the real estate in the year 2022. Could have been 2021 like the Gary Vee thing.
It
right?
should
Is
have
that legit,
been
2021.
2021. That's
so
okay.
2022, they spoke to Eric Wu, CEO of Open Door. They spoke to Glenn Kelman, the Redfin CEO. They spoke to the Skyslope CEO, which is Tyler Smith. One of the Zillow guys, the Chief Industry Development Officer. They spoke with Purple Brick CEO.
Oh, I didn't even get this far.
House Canary CEO, the Compass CEO, Robert Revkin. Like a lot of cool people. When you go, there was 2 questions I really want to like talk about.
Okay.
Because I think this is super interesting stuff for anybody that's an agent, broker, mortgage, wherever you sit in the industry. How will you think your thing, so like Eric Wu, how will you think Open Door will significantly or fundamentally change home buying or the real estate industry? And then the other big question is, how will real estate agents' roles change, if at all, in 5 years?
Right. So they're looking at 5 years. That's
So-
why it's 2022.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
go through that one question, the first question will, what's going to fundamentally change in this industry? And you go through everybody's answer. The one common theme that I pulled out of it when I read through was transactions and transaction management in real estate in the next 5 years is going to be 100% digital.
Right.
I'll even take it another step further. I think over the next 5 years, people that are interested in buying homes are not only going to have that available at their fingertips, the ability to buy and sell real estate like you can a Tesla, but they're also going to have all the information in terms of what has like the accurate data of what has sold and prices in their neighborhood of what sold in the last 12 months, as if they were appraising homes.
Okay.
I think that's coming.
I think
It's
the
not certainly not here. People have a hard
No,
time
it's
figuring out
not, but if
exactly
you're-
because
but-
if you're going off of Zillow, it's confusing. There's not a lot of good
yeah,
information.
I don't know, but if you're savvy enough, though, there's many times I'm sure, like as a listing agent, there's plenty of buyers that come directly to you, and they actually are probably they're probably best representing themselves and actually having an agent
Right.
represent them because
Some
because like they just
Depending on who they're working
well
with.
right. I mean, obviously sometimes you just need to be like no, like you just don't get it, but I mean a lot of people, if they're really savvy enough to want the information, they definitely have it. They find it. They're pointing at it. They're showing it to you. They're
but in the next 5
arguing
years,
it.
is it going to be easier to find this information or harder?
Oh, definitely easier.
Definitely, 100%,
Absolutely.
right? So, and even there's a company in Seattle, and I can't remember their name. If I apologize, but if you know it, you can drop it in the comments. There's a brokerage that basically is doing this valuation model in Seattle, not called Zillow. It's a real estate brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And all the homes will come up that have sold in your neighborhood. And then you can just like, it's almost like...
like put them in like a Dropbox
you
and
can almost like Tinder. You can like,
Oh,
is that
really?
swipe left, Jill? Swipe left, swipe right? Is that Tinder? You're on Tinder. You're on these things, right? Is Tinder a thing? Or is that Bumblebee now? What are these things called? No? Am I totally missing it here?
I don't know.
It's some stuff
I've
like
never
this.
swiped.
Jill,
I'd
are you
love-
helping me? You're not helping me at
No,
all?
you're
What is
making
it?
you're
What are
making
the-
her
what are the
very
dating
embarrassed.
websites?
It doesn't even matter anymore. Tinder is
Jill,
one.
what's your username on Tinder? We'll put that out here on the podcast.
That'll be for episode 15. We're gonna find Jill a date.
Essentially what you could do with these homes
Yes.
that are comps
Yep.
for your house. If you're thinking about selling, you swipe right, swipe left. Okay, I'm looking at 20 recent sales. It's a ranch, but they've got this addition and they have a pool and we don't. I'm gonna swipe left. They're not in. When do you accept? Is it a right or a left?
Oh gosh,
It's a right.
It's a
So
right.
you go
We're
left.
gonna go
and then when
right.
you go right.
It's actually I think it's brilliant. I mean, in
Like-
all honesty, there's so many. Even just for like a seller that's wanting to like list their home, it's time for you to get super realistic about your pricing. So it actually benefits, in my mind, both consumer, like the seller and the buyer.
Because if you're actually getting your hands dirty on the real data,
Right.
it's going to become a little bit more apparent. And I think that's probably been part of the struggle a lot of times in pricing properties with home sellers is that they just don't have enough information to make a decision.
Well, they have information, but it's like back in 2011, I could have sold my house for, you
right.
know.
Well, then there's
so it's
wishers and hoping.
you've been sleeping for too long.
So I just think there's going to be overwhelmingly more information. And going back to the transaction management side of things.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. If you're an agent right now and your value is coaching people up on a transaction, like the paperwork side of things, you're in a vulnerable position only because while we can get on things like .loop and DocuSign and SkySlope and all these different things, and as a consumer, you can e-sign and use that system. If you don't think over the next 3-5 years there's going to be a way for you to read descriptions about every single line in the contract,
Right.
because maybe an attorney put that together and it's an add-on or whatever,
Right.
that's definitely coming.
Right.
So it leads us to the number 2 point. How will real estate agents' roles change, if at all, in the next 5 years? The common thread there was relationships. Those people that have the relationships are going to win, and the listers will last. People that are taking on listings are going to last in this industry with all of this technology change. You said when we were kind of talking right before we started the show.
Yeah, I feel like I peaked before the show.
You peaked before the show. Yes, I would. So far, I would
Yeah,
agree.
okay.
But you have a ton
here.
of time to redeem yourself.
Tons of time.
So you said something very interesting. Like, well, that's how it's always been.
Of course.
Like, that's just the way it is, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like my mom, for instance, like,
Well, she was your mom. That's a terrible example.
no, it's a great example because she's still,
You said, Mom, I'm never going to talk to you again if you don't use
well,
me.
she's like, but we have to use Nancy at blah, 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 because that's who we
This is when you had your
use."
license?
No.
Oh,
no,
I was going to say, that'd be
no.
super interesting. I'd love to hear this story.
No, but like I use,
saying
I
before
use,
you got your license.
yeah, I use Nancy.
Got it.
Everyone used Nancy in our family.
Great relationship with Nancy and the...
In the
you went to
brokerage.
White's.
Yeah, I mean, it was
You were
just, it was there. That's who we use, Nancy. Everyone used Nancy. I mean, we probably ran Nancy
Okay.
ragged for many years where no one ever even bought anything. But
And that's where I think the good agents should have nothing to worry about with what's going to happen, right? And we're going to talk about
Well,
what Keller Williams.
I have to say, though, that
did
I
a
think that
family
this is
reunion.
like a very interesting time, though, too, because we always talk about the fact that it's like super interesting to be in sort of the world right now with
Yep.
like social media and technology. I think, though, too, that it's gonna really set apart the agents, too, because if we can at least guide our people through sort of this change,
Yep.
too, you as an agent are going to become even that more valuable because you've helped such a huge population sort of merge into this new, I mean, I guess lack for a better word, like into this new era of real estate. And I don't think it's going to be quite that dry. I mean, it's not like it's like dinosaurs are going to roam the earth again, but I think,
Shit, that would be badass.
well, we can with augmented reality.
Yes, exactly. No, so it's nothing that's different. If you have the relationships and you have the trust of the consumer,
right? Because if you can explain to one
right.
grandmother how to use DocuSign, your grandmother's gonna be like,
Well,
"Oh, use my granddaughter because
me,
like she explained it to me, and I know how to use DocuSign." Then all of a sudden, grandma's DocuSigning
and
everything.
To me, this is so much more relevant because the people that are going to be selling homes over the next 5-10 years have never sold a home, and they're already super comfortable. So,
right.
But when you start talking about AI, let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
well, I talked about augmented reality, but now we're talking about
Keller Williams.
Yes.
Keller Williams had the weekend we were in Arizona. They had their family reunion, their big conference in California, and Inman did an article right after that. We're going to link that
Virtual
article
assistants.
up. We'll also let's link up the Swan Poll if somebody did want to order that book. We get nothing, by the way. I should hit Stefan up and get like a little,
maybe.
You know,
If you think
hey,
we have that
/ the real word.
You think we have that many followers?
No, I just think that'd be make it seem super legit. Like,
super
hey,
legit.
/ the real world, and we'll make $5 off you. No, fuck that. So Keller Williams debuted how they look at themselves in not so much as a brokerage over the next 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, they're pretty much calling themselves not a real estate company any longer.
Yeah, this is Gary Keller. We are a technology company, number one. That means we build technology. Number two, that means we hire technologists. He hasn't said anything about hiring a real estate agent.
Nope.
Right? Number one, we're a technology company. Number two, we're hiring technologists. We are not a real estate company anymore. This is co-founder Gary Keller declaring at the family reunion their vision over the next 5 years.
I love it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Bless his heart. I mean,
So when he starts talking about AI, and AI is everywhere to some degree around us already, but it's just going to continue to grow.
right.
He's talking about this virtual assistant where you could literally, almost like an Alexa voice,
Love it.
say to, hey, how many transactions do I need this year to make $100,000?
Right.
What's the status with all of my outbound referrals?
Right.
Can you follow Nicole White on Instagram, which would be Nicole White Realtor, by the way. Right? Can you follow her on all of her social medias? Can you do a bunch of Google research on this new lead that I have?
Yeah.
Right?
Anything.
And I think that makes a lot of sense because the consumers are also going to be using a similar device when they're searching for properties.
Right.
Hey, can you tell me the newest 5 listings in this neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think it also takes a lot of sort of that cumbersome stuff like off of the agent's back though too, because like say you have a waterfront property or a horse property and you want to get contacts for like people that are interested in horses or that have a higher net worth. I mean, you don't have to sort of spend as much time jumping into that information yourself.
Give me the 100 top horse influencers in my state.
Right, exactly. And what a great benefit to your seller then too, because you have this incredible resource where you're really then out there able to do all of the other important things without being bogged down by looking through Google trying to find the top 100 influencers
and we were
or what
talking
have
about
you.
the big brokerages are super vulnerable unless they really get into the change.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you have to. Your sign is no longer going to really mean anything, especially if there's going to be these virtual assistants that are probably going to be able to do follow-up calls for you or expired lead calls for you. Yeah, well, again, if this brokerage is offering that, can you imagine? Like, you're screwed if you're up against a Keller Williams agent. There's just not even enough time in your day to actually Google search and like people on Facebook and then go after expires and then actually maybe eat your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I mean, it's going to be very
come
difficult.
back to, so essentially, I think love where they're heading.
Love
it's going to
it.
come down to sales in the end. Does this drive more
Well,
sales?
and as it says, though, too, it's coming down to a relationship, too. I mean, obviously, if you still blow at forming a relationship with people, you're kind of wasting your time anyway. But
absolutely. And do you have the most on the consumer side, right? If they're speaking to a device, an Alexa voice or something like that, what information are they getting?
Right.
Are you the leader of that information, or are they getting it from another source?
Right.
And that's where you're going to be able to connect.
And then can your marketing back it up, too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the listers are going to last. And I love that phrase because it's so true. I love what Keller Williams is doing, becoming a technology company first. In instance, what we're doing on a smaller level, basically becoming are having a marketing company separate from our real estate company
Right.
that drives everything that we do,
Right.
whether it's real estate or something else.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the model. That's
Right.
going to be the mindset. And you're only going to list, obviously, relationships,
Mm-hmm.
but if you overwhelmingly have the best marketing plan
Right.
and
Absolutely.
execution.
Execution. Yeah, I mean, you could have the best marketing plan and
Right.
not actually execute. And
Yeah, and then you'll get exposed.
which is why you then have the marketing company, because then they can execute it for you while you're building more relationships. Right. Yeah, I mean, I think if you've been in the industry forever, you've always known that the listers always last. I mean, you talk to people even that were in the business 25 years ago, and they were willing to even take listings that were overpriced just to simply have the listing over another business, over another company.
And it's trending. More people are going to go without a buyer's agent in the next 5 years than today.
Right.
More people will choose not to have a buyer's agent. Open Door is a great example. You don't need a buyer's agent, right?
No, well, so I guess Open Door. I'm still trying to figure out their concept there.
You don't need. I mean, technically,
'Cause Open Door-
anywhere you don't need a buyer's agent, but
right.
But Open Door makes it so easy for the consumer to set up their own appointment, and
Right.
and these listings are open when Open Door buys the property. These listings are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Because you're not working around anybody else's schedule.
Correct.
Right.
They already own the property. Nobody's living there.
Man, they need to
So-
hire a stager though. There should at least be some furniture in there.
Well, here's the thing.
Just saying.
Right. And maybe that's a great point in certain price ranges, but they're making it easier for people to buy real estate.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's only going to happen more and more and more. And it's going to be easier for buyers to go to direct. And if you can control the listings, whether you're an Open Door or you're a Redfin or you're one in company at William Ravis, or whoever you are,
Mm-hmm.
if you can control the inventory in your marketplace, you're going to stick around
Right.
and then execute on that marketing. So
Right.
love to hear your feedback. Give us a comment
Yeah,
if you're watching on
I'd
YouTube
actually
or on
love to hear
SoundCloud.
though, and I don't mean to interrupt you,
Go ahead.
but I'd even love to hear from some like mortgage peeps on this though too, because I wonder how they sort of feel about it.
Yeah.
If they feel like maybe they're going to all of a sudden be taking on more responsibility because they're almost maybe guiding the buyer a little bit more. Like what do they
Absolutely.
think their role is going to be if these buyers are now sort of like buying these properties without any representation? How they think that their end is going to change in this, in the next 5 years? I'm just curious.
Depending on who they do a lot of their deals with, they're probably like, thank God, I don't have to worry about that age anymore.
Maybe.
Hey, if you listened to the end of this podcast or watched on YouTube to the end, number 1, subscribe, please. Number 2,
What's the letter?
let's do the clam chowder.
Oh,
Put clam chowder
in the comments.
in the comments.
You made it to the end.
You made it to the end. Put
Clam
clam chowder
chowder?
in the comments. That way
And?
we know. And
If they do,
we'll reach out. We'll reach out with something.
ooh,
If you drop clam chowder in the comments, I will personally reach out with something for free and of value. I just don't know exactly what yet.
You may just
And
get
it's
one
not
of
gonna
these in the mail.
It's not going to be something cheesy like a Hershey Kiss. This is going to be something super valuable and free. So drop clam chowder
Clam chowder.
in the comments. See ya.
Bye. Clam chowder.